Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all enjoying the new Ultra League meta that we have. I can tell you guys that my first few battles have been somewhat disastrous, but I did eventually find a team that worked really well for me, and that is what I'm going to share with you guys today. But before we get into that, let me tell you what I've been through, because I was really close to throwing away my phone after the frustration that I faced. So basically the leagues rotate for me where I live at 12 midnight. So I decided to save one set from yesterday for today. Here's the problem. That set that I saved is my rank 19 set, and that means once I play that set, I will get my ELO placement. Now yesterday I was doing so well in the Great League. I got 2 4-1s and then a 5-0, and then I decided to end it there and save my final set for today, which was a big mistake because I should have just played it yesterday in a meta that I was really familiar with teams that I had used several times, because then I would have had a much better chance of going positive in one of the sets that probably matters most for the ELO that you will get. But I ended up playing it in Ultra League in a meta that I was not familiar with Pokemon that are new to me, and I didn't do too well. I ended up placing a lot lower than I would have expected my starting ELO to be, especially given how decent my win rate has been this season. I was really disappointed. I placed around 2,280, which is not that bad, but I was comparing myself to what I was seeing on Twitter. Everyone was placing like really close to veteran, so I had really high expectations. I thought I would do well. And because I put those really high expectations on myself, I ended up feeling so let down when I saw that starting ELO, but it's okay. It is a new meta. I should not put that much pressure on myself. None of us should. We're all still learning, but out of my frustration, I ended up learning a lot from today because, you know, when you get really frustrated at the game and you just start throwing whatever Pokemon on the team and you start running whatever, well, that's what I ended up doing today, but eventually I did find a very solid team, like I said, and that's the one we're going to cover in this video. But I learned a lot from trying different Pokemon. I got to see what works and what doesn't. Let me tell you, Licky is very underwhelming. I was really hoping it would perform a lot better than it did for me. I spent the first couple of sets trying to make it work and trying to build a team around it, but my goodness, that Pokemon is probably a Show 6 Pick 3 Pokemon, not an Open Ultra League Pokemon. I also made a lot of stupid mistakes because you know how I told you the leagues rotate for me at midnight? Well, I wanted to stay up until midnight and start playing my Go Battle League sets immediately, which was a really dumb idea because I ended up feeling so tired I couldn't concentrate on my games, and I made a lot of mistakes. Let me tell you one of the mistakes I made. I got super greedy. I was like, I'm going to put out 2 videos today for 2 different teams. So there was a team that I wanted to run. I'm going to try to make it work tomorrow. It's a good team, but I messed up so badly. That's how tired I was. I ran the wrong moveset on 2 of the Pokemon on that team. I was running a double ghost backline, and I'm supposed to run the 2 ghost types with Astonish. I don't know how. I didn't realize I wasn't running Astonish, but I was running Hex on both of the ghost types. And I ended up with a negative set, first of all. And I ended up with a useless recording because the games didn't reflect how well this team could actually work in the Ultra League meta that we have right now. I also ended up with no Stardust because I spent all of my Stardust on that team. But despite all of that, I still managed to go positive at the end of the day, and I was really happy with where I had left off. And I can say it's all thanks to the team that you guys are seeing on the screen right now. It is going to be Malamar lead with Tentacruel and Shadow Drapion in the back. The safe swap for the most part is going to be Shadow Drapion, but the worst thing you can draw out with the Shadow Drapion is going to be a Cobalion or a Registeel. I'm also trying to take advantage of the fact that not a lot of people have Gastrodon yet. This entire team is weak to Gastrodon, but I only ran into one today, and it wasn't against this team. It was up against my Virizion. I still lost. That's a story for another time. But this team performed the most consistently for me, and if you have the Pokemon, I can highly recommend it. Unfortunately, it is not going to be the most accessible team. All of the Pokemon on this team are fully excelled, except for my Malamar. I went with a Lucky 98 because I wanted to win CMP. I do have one that has a very good ranking for Ultra League, and I had enough resources for it, but I decided not to build it. I decided to build one that would win CMP. For those of you wondering what CMP is, it's charge move priority. Basically, if you have higher attack than your opponent, you will be allowed to throw your charge move before they do if you guys throw your charge move at the same time. On Tentacruel, I'm running Scald and Acid Spray. I found this moveset to be a lot better against dark types like Guzzlord and Pangoro. If you go for an Acid Spray, then you will be able to Poison Jab them down a lot more efficiently. And same with Drapion, I found that I needed Sludge Bomb on it because up against a Guzzlord, if I landed 2 Sludge Bombs, it would be enough to take it out. I also needed that Sludge Bomb for Virizion and for the Fairy types, which again, your lead is going to be really weak to. Anyways, I hope I've covered everything. I've been talking for way too long. Let's get into the battles. In the match taking place on the screen right now, we were up against a Galarian Weezing lead, and that is terrible for my Malamar. It is going to be able to hit for super effective with Psywave, but Superpower and Foul Play are going to be resisted, so I swap into Tentacruel, which is not the best play because usually you don't want to swap your hardest answer into a lost lead. You want to swap the softer answer, but somehow it works out for us because my opponent brings in Feraligatr for our Tentacruel, and Tentacruel absolutely destroys a Feraligatr that isn't running Crunch. The Hydro Cannons and the Ice Beams are going to be resisted, so we're actually able to win switch there, take their Feraligatr out with our Tentacruel, and it looks like our opponent's final Pokemon is going to be this Mandibuzz. We were able to get their Weezing out of the way, and now we just go straight Superpower, which is going to be neutral against Mandibuzz. We were able to land the first one. We take their final shield with the second one, and now all I have to do is bring in Drapion and just go for Crunch. Drapion is going to be able to handle these aerial aces like a champ. It can take 2. We've reached that Crunch. It is going to be enough to take this Mandibuzz out, and we are going to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Feraligatr, and I absolutely hate this lead for Malamar. Malamar does lose against Feraligatr, and I have to admit, I play this game so poorly, and that is why I end up losing. This should have been an easy win for me, especially after you see what they have in the back. But I am going to go ahead and shield here, and then I'll go for a Superpower to take a shield from my opponent. And then I swap, but I swap into Drapion, and this was the wrong play because my opponent's entire backline is going to be weak to Drapion. Not only that, but I could have let my opponent farm up to a Hydro Cannon and then attempted to catch that Hydro Cannon on Tentacruel, which is going to be resisting water type moves. But I don't do that. In the end, my Drapion ends up taking a Hydro Cannon, which really hurts, and they are going to have a Venusaur in the back. And then I let the Frenzy Plant go as well, and I come in with Malamar, and I let Malamar go. So now I have no idea what my opponent's third Pokemon is going to be, but it is going to be a Cresselia, and how good would Drapion and Malamar have been against this Cresselia? They would have been so good, but like I said, it's the beginning of the season, and I still can't read what my opponent is going to be running in the backline, so I end up losing this really badly, all my fault, because if I had just saved the Drapion or the Malamar, I would have had a much better chance in this game. This actually should have been a really easy win for me. But unfortunately, I am going to go ahead and top left because my opponent is also running Future Sight. Okay, this next battle, I couldn't have been more hard countered. My opponent is running Tapu Koko on the lead. I swap into Drapion, and we draw out a Cobalion. This is going terribly for me. I considered at one point just top lefting here, but I stayed in. We go for 2 crunches against Cobalion, and they are already in the yellow, so it's not too bad for us yet. I can reach another crunch as well and get them into the red, and they are going to go ahead and go for a Sacred Sword here now to take us out. I'm not going to shield. I'm going to bring in Malamar now and go for a full farm down. Unfortunately, Malamar is going to have to take 2 Sacred Swords from this thing, and Sacred Sword is going to be neutral because of Malamar's dark typing. Okay, expecting that Tapu Koko to come back in, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Poliwrath. By the way, I saw a few Poliwraths. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I also, when I got desperate, I tried running Poliwrath myself, and it kind of did okay. But now their Poliwrath is going to be up against their Tentacruel, and Tentacruel absolutely walls Poliwrath. I probably shouldn't have shielded the Scold here because I need the shields for Tapu Koko. Their Tapu Koko is going to destroy my final 2 Pokemon, but because we Acid Sprayed them, we are going to be able to take them out with a Scald, and we land a Foul Play on their Tapu Koko from our Malamar. We're able to reach another move, and this should take their final shield. They are in the red now. It looks like they might be 2 Poison Jabs away from being KO'd. We can go ahead and shield whatever this is, and 2 Poison Jabs is enough to take the Tapu Koko out, and somehow we get away with the win there, and that is going to be a 4-1 in that first set, getting us into the 2300s. Now after this, I go and I play those games with the double ghost backline that I was telling you about, and I lose pretty badly, so we drop a little bit, but like I said, I was running the wrong moveset. It's not the team's fault, the team is really good. But honestly, I should have just stuck to this team that I'm running right now because it's really nice, and I probably could have gotten a lot closer to veteran. Anyways, moving on to the next match. We were up against a Shadow Tentacruel. They swap into Pangoro, and I can bring in my Tentacruel, and this thing is going to destroy Pangoro. They let the Scald go here. I'm going to be able to Poison Jab them down now, and this next Night Slash is not going to be enough to take us out, but they swap into their Shadow Tentacruel, and now I can bring in Malamar and go for these foul plays, which are going to hurt. I decide to use a shield here just in case. I have a feeling my opponent's final Pokemon might be another fighting type, so that's why I go ahead and shield. It's going to be Machamp. I had a feeling it was that because of how fast they swapped into that Pangoro. I'm going to go for 2 Superpowers here, and we managed to take both of their final shields, and now I can safely bring Drapion in, take the first Cross Chop, and shield the second one because I know I am going to be able to outpace to the Sludge Bomb before my opponent can reach another Cross Chop. You see what happened there? We waited 2 turns actually to see if my opponent was going to go for a catch, but I managed to call it, and we were able to save that energy to Sludge Bomb the Machamp and take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to see a terrible lead of Clefable. I swap immediately into my Drapion. I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb, and you see how much damage it does to that Guzzlord. This is why I'm running it. We managed to reach another Sludge Bomb as well before my opponent can go for a move. And now I'm just going to let this go, but it is a brutal swing, so it's not going to be enough to take us out. I decide to invest a shield here so that I could either take my opponent's final shield out of the way or win switch. They give up their Guzzlord, and now my Tentacruel is going to be aligned to their Clefable. They have a Licky Licky in the back. I'm going to bring Malamar into it, but my opponent goes ahead and top left. GG's to the opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Steelix. Now, any ground and steel type will give this team a hard time, especially if I can't land the superpowers from Malamar. I'm going to let whatever this is go. It's just a Psychic Fangs, which is very resisted by Malamar. I go for a superpower, and thankfully it actually lands on the Steelix. I can go for another one here, and I'm deciding to stay in. I am going to reach a 3rd superpower, and now my opponent is going to have to shield if they want to win this lead. I let whatever this is go. If it's a Psychic Fangs, it's still not going to be enough to take us out. Even though we are super debuffed, I'm going to be able to reach a 4th superpower, take the Steelix out, and my opponent is going to bring in a Tentacruel. I'm going to bring Drapion in against a Tentacruel, not my own Tentacruel, because Drapion can win this. We will be able to outpace with a Crunch, and we even get a debuff on their defense. So I'm going to be able to go for another Crunch here, shielding their Scald. And they let it go. They are in the red now, and I catch the Scald on my own Tentacruel. Now let's see what my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be. It is going to be a Cobalion, but this is going to be fine for me because I have a full health Tentacruel and my Drapion is still pretty healthy, so I should be able to take care of this. I go for a Scald on the first move, and I have a feeling my opponent is definitely going to shield my next move, so I am going to bait with an Acid Spray, and they don't call the bait. They go ahead and they shield, and now this next called is definitely going to be enough to take this Cobalion out, whereas if they were not debuffed, it wouldn't have been enough. But their final Pokemon is that red HP Tentacruel. We're going to be able to Poison Jab it down and take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, I play this so weird, but we see a pretty decent lead of Tentacruel into Malamar, and then my opponent save swaps into a Registeel. Now, I go for a superpower immediately, but that means I am going to be debuffing myself and my next superpowers are going to hurt a lot less. I'm going to need like 3 or 4 superpowers to take this Registeel out, but we're able to land 2 more. And then I decide to double shield my Malamar. I really should look up on PvPoke how to play this matchup because I think I should have been going foul play instead of going for a bunch of debuffed superpowers. But they are going to be able to reach a 3rd Focus Blast and take our Malamar out. I really wanted to try to catch a Focus Blast on my Tentacruel, but I wasn't sure when they were going to throw it. Anyways, my opponent is going to bring in their final Pokemon, which is going to be that Mandibuzz, and I farm up to a crunch on my Drapion before swapping out. That way I can have it ready for the Registeel because I feel like Registeel can make it to another move. And then I bring in Tentacruel and I'm just going to go for these Scalds up against this Mandibuzz. Tentacruel should be bulky enough to handle this Mandibuzz, but my opponent is going to swap into their own Tentacruel now and I'm going to start going for these crunches. Hopefully I can get a defense drop. I don't, but we're going to be able to go for another crunch and I am going to need 1 more crunch to take this out. So I'm going to farm up as much energy as I can before throwing the next crunch because I need energy for that Registeel. This next crunch is going to be enough to take their Tentacruel out. They bring Mandibuzz in, and I swap immediately into my Tentacruel. Knowing that I have energy, I'm able to reach a Scald and take their Mandibuzz out. And now their Registeel is not going to be able to farm us down, so they have to go for a move. And I am going to be able to reach that crunch before the Registeel can do anything. Take the Registeel out and take that win. And the match timer came up there. That was such a long match. Oh my gosh, I'm out of breath after that last match, but that's okay because this is going to be the final battle of the video and we are going to be up against a Kanto Muck. Their poison typing is going to be taking super effective from Malamar's Psywave. I'm going to go for foul play and my opponent goes ahead and shields. Now I decide to catch the next Thunder Punch on my Drapion and my opponent is going to swap into a Virizion. Now I'm really hoping they don't shield my Sludge Bomb because they went ahead and they shielded their Muck. So they probably don't want to use their second shield. They don't, but they're still going to be able to take our Drapion out. This is fine. I'm going to come back in with Malamar and farm it down, although I don't get a lot of farm. And our opponent's final Pokemon is going to be Giratina Altered. Okay, I have to land a foul play because I don't have Blizzard on my Tentacruel and my final Pokemon is going to be Tentacruel and all our charge moves are going to be resisted. Now I farm up a little extra energy against this Muck and I end up shielding a Thunder Punch. I could have gone for the Scald before they got to that Thunder Punch, but I have 2 shields left. My opponent has no shields and I just have to reach 2 Scalds against Giratina to take it out, and none of Giratina's charge moves are really going to hurt our bulky Tentacruel. I'm going to be able to easily take 2 Dragon Claws here, reach another Scald, and this next Scald should be enough to take this Giratina out, and we are going to take another win here, giving us a 5-0 in this final set, and taking us back into the 2300s where we are going to end the day off there, and hopefully Veteran isn't too far off. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. That is going to be the end of our video. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!